Ayubowan students, and a very warm welcome to Study Hub Sri Lanka. I'm so happy you could join me. Today, we're going to go on a really incredible journey, not to some faraway place, but right inside our own bodies. We're going to find out how that meal you just ate gets turned into energy for everything you do. You know, from studying for your exams to playing cricket with your friends. So let's get right into it.
Okay, let's start with the most basic question. Why do we even need digestion? Well, think about the food we eat. That nice plate of rice and curry. It's made of big, complex things. Our body's cells, though, are tiny, and they can't use these big pieces directly. So, digestion is simply the amazing process of breaking down those big, complex foods into tiny, simple little bits that our body can finally absorb and use for energy.
So here's our plan for today's lesson. First, we'll look at why we digest food. Then, we'll follow a piece of food on its journey, starting in the mouth, then down into the stomach. After that, we'll see the big job the intestines have to do. And finally, we'll quickly touch on some common digestive problems. It's going to be a fascinating trip, so let's start with our first stop.
Right, let's really get into this. Our bodies need energy for absolutely everything we do. And that energy is all locked up inside our food, in things like carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. Digestion is basically the key that unlocks all of that wonderful energy and makes it available for our cells to use.
Now, before we start any journey, we need a map, right? Well, here is our map. This diagram from your textbook shows the entire digestive system. You can see it's really one long tube with a few very important stops along the way. We're going to start right at the top, in the mouth, and follow the path all the way down. Let's begin at the very start of the journey.
Okay, our journey starts with the very first bite of food. And this all happens in the mouth, which we scientifically call the buccal cavity. And right here, from the very beginning, two really important things start happening at the same time: mechanical digestion and chemical digestion.
First off, your teeth get to work, grinding and crushing the food into smaller pieces. That's the mechanical part. But at the exact same moment, your salivary glands release saliva. And this saliva isn't just water, oh no. It's packed with a special enzyme called salivary amylase, which is like a tiny pair of chemical scissors that immediately starts snipping away at the starch in your food. It's perfect teamwork, right from the start.
And you know what? Here's a little experiment you can do yourself. Take a small piece of bread, or even just some plain cooked rice, and chew it for a little while, maybe 30 seconds, but don't swallow it. You'll start to notice a slightly sweet taste. That's not your imagination. That sweet taste is the salivary amylase enzyme working its magic, breaking down that complex starch into a simpler sugar called maltose. It's science you can literally taste.
Now, once the food is all chewed up and ready to be swallowed, our body has a little traffic problem to solve. We have two pipes in our throat, right? One for air to go to the lungs and one for food to go to the stomach. So how does the food know which way to go? Well, there's this clever little flap called the epiglottis. Think of it like a traffic policeman. When you swallow, it automatically swings down and covers the entrance to your windpipe, making absolutely sure the food goes down the correct tube. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Okay, so the food, which is now a soft little ball we call a bolus, has been swallowed, but how does it get down that long, narrow tube, the esophagus, to reach the stomach? You might think it just falls down because of gravity, but then how can you drink water while lying down? So there must be something else going on. What do you think it is?
Well, the answer is this amazing process called peristalsis. It's a series of powerful wave-like muscle contractions in the esophagus that actually push the food along. You can imagine it's a bit like squeezing toothpaste out of a tube. These waves are so strong they make sure your food gets to your stomach no matter what position you're in.
After its trip down the esophagus, our food bolus arrives at the next big stop on its journey, the stomach. You can think of the stomach as a kind of muscular bag, a very acidic mixer, where the food is going to hang out for the next few hours to be churned and broken down even more.
Inside the stomach, the strong muscular walls are constantly churning and squeezing. This action mixes the food with some very powerful gastric juices, and this whole process transforms that solid food into a thick, soupy, acidic liquid. And this mixture has a special name: chyme. At this point, your lunch looks absolutely nothing like it did on your plate.
So what exactly is in this gastric juice that's so powerful? Well, it has a few key ingredients. First, there's hydrochloric acid. It's a really strong acid. This acid creates the perfect environment for the next ingredient, an enzyme called pepsin, to start its work. Pepsin is a protein specialist. It begins chopping up the big protein molecules from your food. The slide also mentions renin, which is another enzyme that's very important for babies, to help them digest the protein in milk. All right,
From the stomach, that soupy chyme slowly moves into the next part of our tour, the small intestine. Now, don't let the name small fool you. This is where the real main event happens. This is where most of the digestion and almost all of the absorption takes place. It's the powerhouse of the whole system.
And in here, there's a lot of teamwork going on. Just look at this table. The small intestine gets a lot of help from its neighbors. The pancreas sends over powerful enzymes like trypsin, which continues to break down proteins, and lipase, which gets to work on fats. And then the walls of the small intestine itself release their own special enzymes to finish the job, breaking everything down into the smallest possible pieces. It's like a highly coordinated chemical mission. So, what's the end result of all this? This is the most crucial part. All those complex foods we ate have now been broken down into these super simple, tiny molecules. Carbohydrates are now simple sugars like glucose. Proteins have become amino acids, and lipids or fats are now fatty acids and glycerol. They're finally small enough for the body to absorb.
So all these nutrients are ready to be used. But how does the body actually absorb them? Well, the small intestine is just a masterpiece of design. First of all, it's incredibly long, about 7 meters in an adult. And the inside isn't smooth at all. It's covered in folds, and on those folds are millions and millions of tiny, finger-like things called villi. In fact, if you could flatten out the entire inner surface of the small intestine, it would cover a whole tennis court. All of that surface area is there for just one reason: maximum absorption.
Let's zoom in and look closely at just one of those villi. This diagram from your book shows it perfectly. Each tiny villus has a network of blood capillaries. This is where the simple sugars and amino acids pass into the blood to be carried all around your body. And that tube in the middle, the lacteal, that's a special transport system just for the fatty acids and glycerol. It's an unbelievably efficient system for getting all those nutrients exactly where they need to go.
Okay, after the small intestine has done its job and absorbed all the useful nutrients, whatever is left over moves into the last section of the tube, the large intestine. Now, its main job isn't really digestion. It's more like water management. It absorbs most of the water from the undigested stuff, which is mostly fiber, back into the body. This helps to form the solid waste that will eventually be removed.
And to finish up, let's just quickly talk about some common problems. Because if we understand how this amazing system works, it helps us take better care of it and stay healthy.
Let's talk about gastritis. Many people know this as acidity or that uncomfortable burning feeling in the stomach. It's basically when the stomach lining gets inflamed. And as you can see, it can be caused by things we do every day, like skipping meals, eating too much spicy food, or even from stress. The good news is we can often avoid this by paying a little attention to our daily habits.
And it's a similar story with constipation. This is often caused by not having enough fiber in our diet, from vegetables and fruits, or simply not drinking enough water. These are really simple things that are easy to fix. And that's why all this matters to our daily life. Good habits will lead to a happy, healthy digestive system.
So, as we wrap things up, just take a moment to think about the incredible journey we've followed. The next time you sit down to eat, just remember that amazing, complex factory that's working away inside you. The teamwork between all the organs, the armies of enzymes, all of it working perfectly to turn your food into you. It's truly one of the most wonderful processes in nature, don't you think?
And that brings us to the end of our lesson today. I really hope you found this journey through the digestive system helpful. If you did, please make sure you subscribe to Study Hub Sri Lanka on YouTube, and don't forget to click that little bell icon so you get notified about our next lessons. We will meet again very soon with another episode for your science subject. Thank you for studying with us.